And action! Hello and welcome to episode 359 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films to TV to documentaries and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to royally F it up, in our very humble opinion. Today on the show, we have director Alice Troughton. She has not only won a BAFTA for directing TV for Cucumber, as it happens, she's also directed episodes of Doctor Who, The Living and the Dead, and Baghdad Central. But today, we're here to talk about her debut movie. It is called The Lesson, and it is an absolute delight. The movie stars Richard E. Grant, Julie Delpy, Stephen McMillan, Crispin Letts, and as the lead of Liam, Daryl McCormack, who is probably very well known these days from Peaky Blinders, but also last year's Oscar-nominated film Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. The Lesson is a story about an aspiring novelist who lands a job tutoring on the estate of his literary hero.
Average writers attempt originality, but the great writers, steal.
But your personal life seeps into your work.
If you're asking whether my son's death has inspired my writing, the answer is no. I will not be writing about his death. I will be writing in spite of it.
Good morning. You must be Bertie.
So you're my tutor?
Your father. He's the most revered writer in the country.
My husband, the subject of your thesis. You're not here for him. So don't talk about his work. Don't talk about Felix. Follow those rules and you should be fine.
It's only been 2 years since Felix. Lake's off limits. Don't do it again.
You know Liam's a writer too. I've seen the novel. It's actually quite good. You know you're not the first.
There have been incidents in the past.
When you said I wasn't the first, what did you mean?
I have a new novel, and I was wondering if you might be on hand for the final stretch. Thought you might like to help.
We did all we could to save Felix, but it was too late. My husband was always hard to please.
You're changing my work.
I'm not.
Who's the writer?
This isn't about the writing.
It was only ever about the writing, Liam.
Why does he lock the door if he's got nothing to hide? I want to know. Don't you?
It's like nothing you've written before. But the ending, it feels like a different novel. Like it was written by someone else.
Liam, good writers borrow.
Great writers steal.
It is a slow burn thriller. It is delightfully directed by Alice Troughton, and we were lucky enough, myself and Dom, to sit down and chat with her. We discussed why it took 5 years to get it to the screens. We talk about script changes and themes, why music is important, and why they shot for 22 days. We talk about why you should plan and plan and plan and then be able to bend like a willow. And we dive deep into dealing with issues, having a great team, what the hell a Koi Pou, and she gives you some amazing advice. I am Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director and a producer, and I'm joined by my fellow host, who's also writer, director and producer, Dom Lenoir. Thank you for listening to last week's episode with Terry Dwyer and Ian Pulston Davies, talking all about Bowl and Shoes. It is out in cinemas now. Do go support. And what a great episode. If you haven't listened to that, once you've finished this one with Alice Troughton, go back and have a listen. So much knowledge and advice, and we proper chatted all about indie filmmaking. And we chatted all about making Bowl and Shoes. And like I say, thank you all for your comments and love. Shout outs go to Jane Gull, Michael J. Long, David Hart, Carl Dark from Law Films, Jack Norris and Nathan Haynes. and to Joseph Milson, whose crowdfunder, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is still going for his feature film Signs of Life, is massively in progress. They are a couple of grand away from their goal. Link to that will be in the show notes, but do go support. But thank you everyone else for that love across the board this week. Coming up for you very soon, we have Dom Money, producers, the producer team behind that smash hit of a movie, which is also in cinemas now. And we have the director of Once, John Carney, whose latest film, Flora and Son, will be out soon as well. And after that, we'll have Oliver Krimpas talking about his film Around the Sun for you after that. So a big bumper month coming up of amazing guests and episodes. So I hope you learn loads from this podcast, and I hope you go out there and be inspired, even with the issues that are going on at the moment with SAG and WGA, and hopefully they're resolved by the time you hear this. But if not, that shouldn't stop you from thinking about your film, from planning. It's so important to plan, so you're ready to bend, because this industry makes you bend all the time, and not bend over. But bend to the situation and bend to what's happening for you as a filmmaker. And it's not that simple. It's not easy. And you've got to stick at it, and you've got to work hard, and you've got to be in the right place at the right time and make things happen for yourself. So Alice Troughton, our guest today. The lesson is written by Alex Mackeith. It's produced by Camille Gatin, who does make an appearance because she was sat quite near Alice and she does say hello. I think Camille is an amazing producer, and hopefully one day we can get her on as well. And the cinematographer was Anna Patarakina. So sit back, relax, enjoy myself and Dom Lenoir talking to the wonderful director, Alice Troughton. Enjoy.
Hey, Giles and Dom.
Hey, Alice.
Hey,
How are you doing? You all right?
Nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah, really good.
Where are you?
London.
Oh, yeah, me too. I always love people's artwork.
So, which artwork were you referring to? Giles's?
It can't be
I
mine.
was looking at your magnificent stag.
Okay. Yeah.
Which you could, in the lesson, there's definitely an old stag, young stag theme, which we could talk about.
I put it up specifically.
That would be...
He has. Never seen it
Common
before.
misconception. People often think that's a colour chart. It's actually a chart of chocolates from a chocolate shop. There we go.
Yes.
A bit of totally useless information to start the podcast.
That's what's been amazing about Zooms, isn't it, over the last 2 or so years, where you've got to see inside people's homes, and suddenly you've got to make it look, semi-decent.
And then I could have put my blurry background on so that you couldn't see my Fisher-Price record player that's in the back.
What it is?
Classic brand, and the inspiration for some of the music in my films as well.
Really? Well, the Fisher-Price thing.
Yeah. And that kind of, but like the True Romance theme. I've always been, that kind of like heard. What is it called? They do it on a specific instrument, and I've always been really fascinated by themes, actually, as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that in your, the use of music as well, and how important it was. And by the way, we really enjoyed this film a lot.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, we haven't told you, but we did. No, we did. We saw this 2 weeks ago, Dom? I don't know now. It felt like it in a press screener, and we came out talking about it for ages. We talked about it for about.
We actually had a sit down with another journalist. We won't mention who, and deconstructed the movie because there were interesting questions. Yeah.
So, how lucky am I? Because for me, I know this is my first film. I've made a lot of television, but to me, there's such a privilege, and it's like people seeing your movie. I get really excited, and in America we opened it, and we got Barbie Heimed, you were like, whoa.
Yeah.
But that's the idea of somebody sitting in a cinema in Toronto and watching the movie is still so thrilling for me. And also because it is a divisive movie and people are kind of like, go either way about whether they think it's wrong, right, I love that fact that it's being debated. That's already a success.
Yes, totally agree. And we did, didn't we, Dom? We sat and talked about this, and we went through the pros and cons and why they would do this and why the characters would do that and what this meant. And we actually really enjoyed doing that. And I think it really opened our eyes even more because we kept finding new things. What about, and that meant that and that. And it's one of those beautiful films that just grows on you, I feel.
And actually, I've had people, again, something that you go, actually, my ambitions might be low, but actually, I really love the fact that people want to see it again. And
Yes.
just because there are clues. It is a thriller, and there are clues, and there are some of those clues are subliminal or kind of, just peripheral, maybe is a better way of putting it, that I think that you pick up on more when you see the film a second time. So really kind of quite an obvious one is the film that Sinclair Richard E. Grant is watching when he's talking to Liam in the cinema room, and the film playing is a really classic noir.
Yes.
Not to give any spoilers away, but it has a theme that
parallels.
It does. We talked about that one. We did.
Yeah.
We mentioned that one because we were like that in relation to him and what he's thinking and feeling, and
many lessons to be learned.
Many lessons to be learned. There was a pleasure in me because Diana Dawes, she had that kind of classic being belittled in the press, and being reduced to being a pair of tits and a blonde kind of hairstyle, and largely broad and sort of kind of parodied, and yet you see her in The Blonde Sinner, the title was in America of that film, and she was a leading actress. She was a really, really good lead actress. And so it's interesting to me, like Ada Lupina making The Hitchhiker, how we just kind of get a memory deficiency. Can women direct noir? Oh, yes, they can.
Yes, they definitely can. It's been proven here, without a shadow of a doubt. It's fantastic. I love the little twists and turns. I love that you had to keep working it out, what was happening, and also about, toxic men, in that sense of powerful.
Well, you said that with a bit of a sigh and a bit of a kind of, that burden.
Yes. Well, there is that, it's been with us for so long, and men have had this, and it's about time. It's like, please, finally, but yet these men don't know a way out. And I think that's what's interesting. I found that fantastic.
Endangered species.
Yes.
Yeah, antiquated, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like a sort of, it's a different time, and they just haven't evolved. And it's sort of holding on to this very outdated sort of view.
At the moment,
Yeah. I know.
Clinging on by and that's where the toxicity comes from. And listen, as we evolve through life, we have choices of whether to become toxic enough or not with the experience it has us. And a lot of what we talk about in the lesson is the British class system, which absolutely is an echo chamber for that toxicity. So the kind of fragmentation in the relationship between father and son because of the boarding school experience and the kind of send away to school and the level of expectation, that toxicity between father and son, that actually was something that Richard really has said to me in rehearsals and in the run-up, that he really understood, because he's seen it. He's seen that those fragmentation of those relationships, and he really understood it.
And it's massively traumatizing as well, that whole sort of infrastructure. It's like, take you away, throw you into this world, and then sort of be brought up on these values that don't necessarily reflect society anymore. And you wonder why you have these kind of ruthless, crazy characters.
They're our government. Well, I mean, I'm quite interested. I'm doing another project another way about the boarding school. The whole phenomena of boarding school. And of course, Bertie's been to boarding school, so is Felix, and now the next step, the next kind of and the kind of fragmentation in child development that causes. I mean, it's brutalizing to young boys and girls, but really, boys, I think, suffer particularly, being taken away and out, and that's years of therapy afterwards, and people are still kind of, and we are one of the few countries that do it. I want to say the only one, but I'm sure there are outposts that do it too, normally where we've colonized, but toxicity of that system and the breakdown of what happens within the family unit. It's really clear in the relationship between Sinclair and Bertie.
Definitely.
And come at it from an outsider point of view, which is even, which is also toxic. Also toxic within it, and I think that's something that we all know, really.
Yeah, and something I found really interesting as well is that sort of narcissistic contagion as well that sort of occurs between the characters. I mean, was he always going to become sort of similar to his mentor, or is that part of just spending time around people? And there is actually a lot of evidence that if you do spend time around those kind of characters, you end up passing on traits, and it's a survival tactic, and then it sort of feeds back into what you're saying about boarding school and whether you're in toxic environments there. I mean, it all sort of ties in together, and there's a lot of evidence to back, you know, what you've put into narrative form. It's a really fascinating subject.
And also Liam as well is, you know, this is his literary hero he's going into the house of. So of course he's going to be influenced by that. You know, he wants that life. So he sees what he's doing, and he in some way can't help but become that. It must have been fascinating for you to develop that, because this came to you about 5 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, about 5 years ago. I was brought it by my producer, Camille, who had done a film called Girl with Gifts, which was a brilliant hit, and she was looking for the next movie, and she very much wanted to work with a female director. And I had done a couple of things that are really successful television-wise, but one was Delpy Davis' Cucumber episode, where it was stunning, and it was some of the best writing, and I was lucky enough and then good enough to make that. And she wanted to up the proportion of female directors that are out there, and I was very keen also to be, you know, representative of that, because we haven't got gender parity in movie making anywhere near. And so you're asked, and it's a privilege to be offered this. We wanted to do it. We were passionate about it. We felt we had a story to tell. We felt it was a really exciting genre to explore together, but from a different point of view. And, you know, there have been female noirs. There have been, you know, but I think it's traditionally a real male bastion, and considered, you know, so it was a good genre to start off on. But in my television work, I've done westerns and neo-noir with an Iraqi hero in Baghdad Central. And so I'm really looking for those areas that we traditionally haven't been allowed to kind of push into.
And it's such a great genre with so much scope as well. You know, the noir territory, and it's great that you're sort of able to explore that. So what kind of shape was this in, you know, when the idea sort of began to form, and going through the writing and your input into all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Alex and I worked really closely together, actually. We did it twice. We did it once to just really shore up the dynamics, and then really his writing is brilliant. And so in terms of dialogue and cut and thrust, a lot of the scenes that you see in there were in the first draft of what I read. Right. So it felt like it could transformed substantially. One of the big rewrites we did is when we found the location, and we wanted to make script work on the location, and then we worked very closely together, and just thematically to make sure that we were staging it right, so that there were kind of peripheral thematic themes. But then in terms of choice of location, that was very much left down to my DP, and she brought that up a level. So I do use, and I think this maybe is my background in television, I really love the teamwork that goes behind making something. And when I have a creative head of department like Alex as a writer, or Anna, my DP, I use them very heavily to kind of like, you know, move us through the production issues, and likewise with design. And you talked about music earlier, and I'd love to come back to that at some point, because the music was so integral. And Isabel Waller-Bridge was with us for the whole 5 years of the development of the movie. We met her very, very early on. And we wanted to meet her because she's obviously so brilliant and does a number of different styles, and she'd done Emma and she'd done Fleabag. We had this mind meeting. And she was so passionate and enthusiastic, and had such a clear idea of how she wanted the music to be. It became, I'm going to say the awful words, it became like a character in our movie, because it's in the DNA of the movie. And I'm really proud for her. I hope she wins all the awards in it, and it just does so much for the film.
It really does. Yeah, the music, like I say, it's one of the first things I mentioned, because it was just, I found that really fascinating, and the power of it, not just within the sound, but also how Richard E. Grant's character manipulated do not know this music type thing as well. It was
a power
Rachmaninoff.
Yes, exactly. It's like it's just wonderful. It was just really harshly I'm better than you because I know this. And it was just those little things that just elevated this. It really did. We've had Julie Delpy on the podcast in the past.
Lovely Julie.
Yes. And she is incredible and so fun because obviously she's directed as well and made movies many times.
So many. I mean, Julie has directed 7 movies.
Yes.
Wow.
Today. And who knows, again, it's like she's an author. She has a body of work. And yet, that doesn't, she doesn't get valued enough within her field.
Totally agree. It's like no one knows she directs. I'm like, well, hang on, she's made 7 movies with stars and she just constantly
just finishing one up, actually, I think, as
wouldn't
well.
surprise me. She's a machine. She was fantastic in this movie as well. And there was a moment, and we talked about it for quite a bit afterwards, where, because she's quite a stoic, cold character, and then suddenly there's this moment where she's smiling her head off. She's just smiling, and we talked about it for a while about, was this the real her? Was it not?
So is that the moment when she turns and meets his gaze? Or...
No. It was the moment when she's watching the sun go for
absolutely.
Go for something.
She's in the window.
Say.
Go for something.
Me and Julie on the floor going, we need to show that this woman can be something
other than cold ice queen. Yes.
And it sort of opens up an interesting question, I suppose, into like, how much of her containment is down to the effects with the family and the son, and really whether it's not about the husband as much and whether it's actually the son that kind of derives her happiness. That was kind of where my mind
I think that's really clever. There's a lot around it, and we thought a lot about it. It's all really, really thought through and thought out. And I think for the Hélène character, had it not been for the loss of her eldest son, the status quo could have been maintained. I mean, there's a sublimation. We looked at a lot of power couples now say they, celebrity, but we're looking older at sort of Hemingway and Martha Gellhorn and Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner, and the kind of relationship where it's very often the woman has sublimated her creativity.
Yeah.
To let the other creative ego grow, and that could become incompatible. And we know that that's something that Hélène did, and possibly would have continued doing. So she became a support. She became a curator. She became somebody that bought other people's work rather than creating her own work. The talent spotter, until the death of their eldest son, which is I think not a spoiler to say that is at the front of the movie and is something that is the level of grief that subsides underneath the movie, both of those, all of that family, in fact.
So did you already always know that those were going to be the cast? I mean, how did the casting come into it?
Yeah, well, the casting actually, once it all happened very quickly. It's one of those things. It's like you spend 9 months pregnant and then the birth happens in 10, 20. I mean, actually, the casting and the production. I mean, we shot in 22 days. So development. We've got on the finance. Let's go. And we had quite a number of different iterations, different ideas, or whatever. So at the time that we knew we were greenlit and we wanted to go, those people came into focus. Daryl, I think, was probably the last person to come on board, and we were so fascinated by his movie star quality, which I mean, I would say Harris Dickinson has got it too. Okay, but I'm talking about genuine movie star quality, and I knew it on the floor with Daryl, and I knew it when you've seen Leo Grand, and I think that he is a genuine movie icon. And that made his casting very easy for me. But my God, can you imagine if you'd got it wrong on this film? You only have 5 actors. It would be. Yes. And most directors will say to you, if I cast it wrong, I can't do anything. It's all about this casting. And I'm touching wood for being hubristic, but I believe that it is a perfect cast.
Yes, it is. Even Stephen McMillan as well.
Let's mention Stephen, because Stephen, I want him to get a Best Supporting BAFTA nomination. And I want them all to win all the awards. Of course I do. I don't really care about myself, actually.
So it is written.
It's written, I know. I really, especially, Richard is a leading man. He's been nominated as a supporting man. I want him nominated. I want Julie recognised for her amazing leading actress ability. I want Daryl as a leading man, and I want Stephen as Best Supporting Actor, because look at the quality of his performance. And again, he has a Timothée Chalamet charisma.
Yeah, charisma. I was going to. I didn't want to use the word, but that is the word. It's it's this kind of larger than life energy that you just kind of, you're fascinated by them when you're just watching.
Fascinated by actors because what they did, the authentic, you can smell inauthenticity. You can. Oh yeah. You can't. You can. And I can certainly on my sets, and obviously with television, you're doing lots and lots of different actors, and you do know. And there's only, as a director, there is something you can do, but all you can do is probably massage it 20% up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what you can do. You can kind of glitter a turd, but you can't. I mean, we never really end up there. So casting is your basic.
Yeah.
And actually, it was my brilliant casting director, Dixie Chassé, who's just come back from a triumph in Venice with Poor Things. She does all the Yorgos Lanthimos' films. And she was the one that said, you've got to see Daryl McCormack. He is a superstar. And I mean, he just was. But also the drive from Julie, Richard, Stephen, and Daryl to play these characters. The characters really sang to them. They really loved them. And so I knew I was stepping into the floor with talents and passion. What I didn't know what was going to happen, and which you never do, is you don't know what the chemistry on the floor is going to actually materialize into. And they created such an extraordinary dynamic.
And how did you go into sort of building that chemistry? Was that through rehearsals, or did you get to meet them beforehand to sort of get them together, or was it like try and keep some of them separate? Like how did you sort of work around that?
Yeah, actually they were. I was shooting quick. Let's go. We did some rehearsal. I am a big believer in intimacy coordinators, only because I've seen the toxic results of not having them for like.
Yep, I've been there.
Years. And I've done, I'm friends with a lot of my actors, and I've seen how they can come off floors being absolutely, just destroyed. And all it takes is the ego of, a misplaced ego of a director to think that they can ask for more than they've prepared for. I mean, I've seen it happen so much, and I'm sure that, and honestly, if you ask Julie, some of Julie's stories of working early on in the French movie industry, Jesus, anyhow.
Oh yeah.
I actually was more passionate about the intimacy coordinator than most other people, because I do feel that as a director, you are responsible for the mental health on the floor as well as the kind of health and safety, which I'm also really passionate about. We did intimacy coordinator work with the scenes that we needed to do it on. And so we rehearsed that, and we obviously rehearsed our big set piece at the end. But beyond that, they did a huge amount of prep separately. Richard did, and he would say about it, it was a very isolated shoot for him. It was a long shoot. He was in previous interviews, what he's talked about is that he read the script when he was only 6 months into having lost his wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was deep in grief. And so the resonances for him were there automatically. And he really, it really struck a chord with him. He has said,
but
he's obviously not saying now because my actors are on strike, and I fully
not saying anything.
I'm 100% backing them, and so they won't be doing publicity for the film because of that. Yes. But he would say that it really drew him to his own place. And Julie gets offered a lot of comedy, doesn't have the chance to do things in this depth. And in rehearsals, she coined this phrase "maman fatale," the mother fatale, a different twist on the femme fatale of noir. She was very keen to be calibrated. So I always think that, and this is a really big analogy, but I think when you step on the floor with a bunch of actors, they're all so talented, and they're like nervous racehorses. They're highly strung, and they're quivering with anticipation for the race. And you have to work out who needs what. Who needs a tight rein? Who needs? So Julie would always be saying, "Do you want more? Do you want less? Do you want anything?" And I like that. I love kind of having those conversations. And Richard would just be like, "Tell me if there's anything different." And you could just put the lens on him and let it play out. The kind of confrontation scenes between Richard and Daryl, they found something in their chemistry. They have a savage sense of humor and the kind of one-upmanship. They found that together. That wasn't me. I just filmed it.
Right.
Oh, right. Anna filmed it beautifully.
Yeah, Anna did. Yeah. Patarakina, right?
Patarakina, a really amazing DP.
Yes,
my department with Anna and Isabel, my 3 producers, amazing.
Yeah, it did look beautiful, didn't it? It had this wonderful quality. It was almost, was this something like with your mood boards and everything when you were, doing that 5-year period? Had you planned this with an inch of its life, and then, like you said, then you came to location? It's not the one that you've maybe had in your head, but it worked brilliantly for us. I didn't mind at all.
Yeah, but we plan it within an inch of its life. It is interesting. We certainly plan. Yeah, we certainly planned, and we wanted to push ourselves. We wanted to be bold, and we wanted to make choices that we would go, why don't we do that? And there's a really brilliant Letterboxd review at one point when it says, and obviously the director and the DP just said, F it, let's ball. And they went for it in the 3rd act. I thought that was really good, actually.
It was brilliant.
Anna and I both really laughed at that. We really liked
quote unquote.
there was a sense of freedom in what we were doing. There was a sense of freedom on the floor as well, to just be responsive to what was happening in front of you. And that has always been my philosophy as a director, and it didn't change between television and movie, which is you plan, and then you bend like a willow and you are organic and see what happens. And it allows you a simplicity that I think allows me to do my best work and allows the actors to kind of, be supported.
Did you find that the location, because it is this sort of palatial manor, did you find that actually helped both you and the actors and the cinematography? Because you've got these very defined areas. I mean, there's power plays in something as simple as opening and shutting the dining room doors, and who comes to dinner and who doesn't come to dinner. Like, how did that then inform? Did you start changing things with the scripts, or was it just a natural helping towards everyone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole real trope. The house became a character. I mean, we see it a lot in kind of horror podcasts and all of that. The number of times I've been asked to make a house a character, and you're like, but it's a fucking house. But lest you for
the music, we've already got the music. We can't cast the house.
Lest you for saying palatial manor, and I'm really glad it comes out of that, because what you see was about like 5 rooms, and the rest of the house was fucking derelict. It was so. But there was an air of dereliction. The house was wonderful, and my designer managed to, what he actually did, which I think again is part of the joy of this kind of movie making, is we went out to all. Seth had trained at it was St. Martin's, and he was a designer by nature. In fact, there's one of his installations on the wall of Ellen's studio. It's called Blood Out of a Stone, and that was Seth Turner's final project for his art degree. And it's this stone that has blood hanging out. I love it. It's like modern art. But he had a lot of connections in the world of modern art, and we went to a lot of young or established and interested artists, a lot of them female. In fact, I think we have gender parity on the walls, and asked them for their art. And Seth collated this amazing space that is dominated by Ellen's art. And some of that art gives you little hints, like the picture that's behind Sinclair, for example, in the dining room, tiny little Easter eggs that are there about, the character of who is in front of it. And that was really joyous to do. And then the lake, it's actually called the Monet House, because the bridge that's over the water is obviously really like the picture in the Monet. But if you look at that bridge is crumbling into the water. It isn't picturesque. And there are giant muskrats, Koi Pou, the giant rats in the water.
Yeah, we love those shots.
We love them so much.
We couldn't work out what they were.
It's really interesting because it's a little bit naughty.
Right.
It's a little bit naughty because we spent £3.5 million back in 1980 something exterminating all of the Koi Pou from British soil. Because they are considered an invasive species. They're actually we were shooting in Hamburg. Now I think there's still Koi Pou out there in the kind of areas, so they came into our mythical British house and we let them be there, but really they're not here. I
quite enjoyed their kind of mini narrative. I was wondering what happened to them at the end. Like were they, I can't say anything without spoiling, but were they part of the events that transpired? They were a great
drag him under
character.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what it does is the lake is haunted in many ways. Okay, the lake is haunted for the people of the household, and the lake is taken over, and nature is coming back into it, and it isn't being used. And I think, as what Sinclair says, nobody's been in there for 2 years, and so what it did feel to us was that nature had reclaimed it, and that it became, it has a symbolism. Of course, it does. and also at the end of the movie, the symbolism comes into its own. And this movie can be too meta. Of course, it can be too meta. Oh, did we do that third act to reflect the book? Was it that it all goes strangely different? Lots of kind of words about that. But I think the resonances are things that I enjoy because it makes people talk and go, do they mean to do that? What were those rats? Why is there a robotic mower that's got its own shot? That kind of thing.
Yes, that kind of thing. But that really worked for us because we talked about that for a lot, for a while.
Especially those critters.
I'm just going to high five my producer here.
Yeah. Is that Camille there?
Is that Camille? Yeah, I wish you could.
Hello. Lovely to meet you. Congratulations.
As movie makers, this is a joy for us. This is a joy for us to talk to you and be at this stage because we know it's a privilege, and Camille said, it's a slog. God, who would be a producer?
Yes.
And so we feel really, just proud of everybody that was involved. And delighted that we've got a theatrical release because after COVID and with everything, we could have just gone streaming as so many films did. But also we're really delighted also that there seems to be a reinvention of the British film director just taking over the world. And that's really lovely to be part of that.
Yes. Yeah. Congrats.
No one goes to Hank's for spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
Introducing Gold Bond Scented Hand Creams, your hand's new playlist. Start with Vanilla Dream for soft, sweet vibes. Drop a beat with Floral Bloom for hydration that hits. Citrus Pop, that's your glow-up anthem. And Cedar Rain, pure chill tracks. Gold Bond Scented Hand Creams, 4 amazing scents, 24-hour hydration. Love the scent, feel the hydration. Shop now at Walmart.
In terms of working with those actors then in those moments, you said, all those bits or working with the crew in this wonderful space, when there was moments that were difficult for you, for our filmmakers listening, how did you overcome those problems? Because there's always problems on a film set. How do you deal with it?
Always problem. And it's my job that I really, and actually that's, I think, having a bodywork behind me, even if it's not, everybody goes, oh, she's the first time. It's like, no, I have 20 years on the cold base.
I've been doing this a while.
Cold base
I'm fine.
Of making television. And you realise that troubleshooting can often be incredibly creative, and lead you down creative avenues that you maybe were too restricted to see before a problem arose and you had to move around it. So I've always thought that actually, and also being responsive again to things that occur on the floor that you have to react to and how you can bring those into your scenario. So that is part of my job as a director. I believe that if you are going to be, and I don't know every director, but if you're going to be so boarded out and rigid and precise, that might be the way of the auteur. It's not my way of working because I think you miss creative opportunity. Obviously you prep really hard. You think, you mood board. Anna and I drifted around some galleries and had some tea and had some Negroni, watched some Tarkovsky, and had joyous fun. I mean, it's great.
Sure,
but you have to be responsive in my book. And actually, you asking about what happens in those moments. Well, Anna would come and find me while I was deep in thought about thinking of things or problems or whatever. And I would be watching the Koi Pou. And at one point, we got so friendly that I would be feeding the Koi Pou carrot. And they would be eating it. And then at one point, I got really, really fascinated by the damselflies, which are the blue flies in.
Oh, they're classics, yeah.
Amazing. And because they were laying eggs everywhere. And there was such. Yeah. And for me, I've always in life and in my job and in movie making, being able to put down troubles and find joy in nature and other things around me. And I really never want to lose that capacity because it equalizes those moments of stress and tension.
Was there a temptation to adopt one of those little creatures?
You know what? They're all dead now. They're all dead.
Well, what did you do? What happened?
Because we were allowed, we didn't need to report them because we weren't the owners of the house. Right. The ownership on the house had just changed. And when the new owners came in, you have to report them, and they an exterminator.
It's really sad. What a sad ending.
The story.
In my dream, sometimes when I wake up at night, I hope that the little ones manage to run away, and it's not like a kind of version of Bambi where he's watching his mother being shot. Yeah.
That was not the answer I was hoping
I'm really sorry. We would have really loved to snuggle them back, but we would be,
done for it, especially, yes.
Flies, which only live for, 36 hours or whatever.
I mean, we know they're dead.
Yes, we know they're dead too. and they're in. There you go. But yes, that's how I deal with stress. And very often, one of my very good friends as a producer went, "Why do you do that?" Because I would just be like, "Look, a dog, look, a bird," right in the middle of a shoot. But I do it because it gives me a sort of mental
break. Yes, and it's important to do that, because otherwise you can get stuck in this stressy place where it's actually just taking yourself out from it and coming back and going, I'm making a movie, I'm making a TV series.
I learned a lesson a long time ago, and you see it on sets. You think you're doing the most important thing ever, and that you're indispensable, and gosh, yes, this is all us together and doing it. And then somebody gets ill, they get taken off, and they get replaced the next day, and nobody blinks. And I do think that wrestling with that level of ego is very healthy, to keep reminding yourself that we're temporary and you're replaceable. And actually also, I mean, kindness is such an overused and, divisive word, but there needs to be, for a long time, our sets were run like a hierarchy, military hierarchy. People step over your place, don't do that, and it was quite a culture of sort of bullying. And
massively,
certainly very white, certainly very male. That culture on the floor needs to change, and it is changing, and it has changed. It's a slow process. And also, so I think mental health, and that's what I'm talking about really for practitioners in this industry, that level of stress isn't acceptable. It isn't acceptable for people to feel that they can't take days off, or they can't be ill, or they can't do family occasions. It's not. We're looking, there are practitioners that are really looking at it, but we really need to look at mental health in the workplace. And so making it a less stressed, more relaxed kind of, set was very important for the producers and myself.
Yeah, well, it makes you more creative, doesn't it? It makes you be in that creative environment, doesn't it, Dom?
I think there's a very small number of people that will really come out of their shell and give you a vulnerable, brilliant performance, or crew position if they're getting shouted at all the time and put under much more stress than they actually need to. Like, most people do positively respond to positive praise or encouragement or creativity and a welcoming kind of environment. And I really do think, it's not hard. I think everyone should be trying to put those values into filming.
I understand it, because you can be fired and you can be stressed and you've got such a kind of, I get it, but there's no excuse for treating people who are background artists like they are puppets. It's little tiny things like that. The way that you treat your background, it's like, would you go to dinner with somebody that was rude to a waiter? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have dinner with them, and I wouldn't work with a director that thought the background could be just left, standing in the sun without. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you're on my set, if my runner is unhappy, then I should be unhappy. And that's very much my ethos. It's quite annoying for people, but it is my ethos, because it's not the ethos that's been there before. And if your runner is miserable, then you as a director have that responsibility, and certainly do as a producer. And I think this is happening. It is, culture is getting better, but we've got to go.
This is happening, Alice. You're so right. Let's talk about post then, because obviously in TV side of it, sometimes you're not in post as much, but with a feature you kind of are. You've got your fingers and hands all over every single little bit of it. How was that for you? Did you learn anything from that side of it, of certainly doing
I mean, that is interesting. So when I do my DJ work, and I so that's
your DJ work.
I'm a DGA member, so I work.
Oh, DGA! I thought you said DJ.
But
I thought
DJ Fisher Price.
I thought for a minute you go to nightclubs, and especially with the Fisher Price record player behind you.
I would really like to be that director. That would be great. No, I'm sorry, not. In the American jobs, when you're in the episodic system, you get taken you get 3 days in the edit. I've spent 20 weeks in edits on my television shows here, because if you're executing and lead directing, you're in the edit for a very, very long time. And there's views to be found in that. So it wasn't unusual to be in the edit. I think what I found unusual was and this is a rare case. This doesn't happen all the time, because there are a lot of directors who get on the floor and they're under pressure from their producers from the very first moment. I just wasn't. I was very trusted by my producers. I didn't realize how rare and how extraordinary that was until the end of the process. But because I think Camille and I and Cass and Judy, the 3 producers with us, had been working on it for so long, there was an understanding there that they just didn't police me. And so the liberation there. Isabel was with us from the start. Isabel came in, we were using guide tracks all the way through when we were assembling it. And that's something else I've learned, which is don't put other people's piece of music to your film unless you don't want to change it, you know.
Yes.
But I do this in my television work as well. So in Baghdad Central and Midwich Cuckoos, I had Hannah Peel, who was another amazing composer, who actually just won an Ivor for Midwich Cuckoos. And
very appealing.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, so it's part of the joy of my work, working with these incredible talents that are coming up. And we guide tracked the whole first episode to her music from the start for that reason. So these things are things I've learned to do, that to creatively be satisfying. And Isabel, obviously, we've talked about, she's brilliant, and she really went with it, and we took the musical themes. But also then Anna and I would go, and Anna and I did do a grade look, and we did a lot, and we wanted to make sure that we had the right look. But there was also a lot of playing at the other side of it as well. Anna process on how she got the film to look like that, like I am a layman and I will muck it up, but she did it incredibly cleverly and boldly, and made really bold choices. We restricted our sensor on our digital camera, and she had a whole kind of process that she went through. So I think it gave people the freedom just to do things that they wanted to do, and and that's all it needed. Gosh, that's really...
No, but that's
we were all very happy.
Oh, our film was wonderful. What an amazing shoot.
We were so good.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer to learn more. See you this summer.
It's baseball, but so much more. Go bananas for Banana Ball with ESPN on Disney+. The greatest show in sports.
Are you kidding me?
Is the phenomenon everyone's talking about.
The trick play to the plate.
Catch the Savannah Bananas and other fan favorite teams all season long, with select games streaming with ESPN on Disney+.
Let's go!
U.S. residents, 18 plus only. Select Banana Ball games available to all Disney Plus subscribers. Terms apply.
Hank joined BJ's Wholesale Club the day he became a father of 30.
I coach football.
Now Coach Hank saves up to 25% off grocery store prices. 30 pounds of pasta, 3 cases of protein bars, 75 sports drinks.
And that's just pregame.
He knows teamwork, and BJ's knows savings. This is your home, Coach. Home of the save. Join for just $20 at bjs.com/SW Fort Worth and save 10 cents a gallon on gas for 6 months. Now open. Limited time offer. New members only. BJ's. Home of the save.
Some of the rooms, we were talking about this as well, weren't we, Dom? Like the rooms were, they had a, what's the word for it? They felt intimate, small and pokey. And we were like, what, were the rooms like that, or did you make us feel that way? And I was fascinated. We were like, okay, because he's sat by the sliding door, but that room's there and he can hear that, and and I loved it. And we were, like I say, opened up so many questions for us as to what, talk us through filming there. And was it a smaller space? And if it was, how did you manage that?
Yeah, that was really interesting, because that scene when he's listening, I think that in the script, he was like quite far away.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I was rehearsing, because I always rehearse on the floor before we obviously go for a take. We do rehearsals beforehand. We were rehearsing the Richard and Stephen part of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is how free the floor was. Richard had the idea of the window open and sitting there and having the pile of books. And what I do love about my characters, and one of the things that as a director I need to get right, is my choreography. And it's a dance. It's an absolute dance. And if you've got the dance right, then the scene blocking
feels
right for everybody. And so I was rehearsing them, and I was said to Daryl, just sit there. I'll be with you in a second and we'll work out where you're listening to this from. And he sat down.
Yeah.
And he was listening to them in there. And Anna just did this. And this is what Anna does. She's so cool. I did the rehearsal, and then she just sort of sidled up to me and showed me that she'd been filming it the whole time. And we worked out it was one shot, that we pull back and we pull back and we pull back and we find him. And then it develops even further when he decides to get up and go in. And then he finds him first on that reset of, hello, how are you? After this toxic piece of destruction that's been going on. And so that's how it sort of evolved. The actors had ideas, and then there was a flexibility on the floor. And I felt, yes, it does compress them, but I really loved the fact that you find Liam there, and and I always love that glass and kind of, that you're an observer, whose point of view am I with now? Oh, it's his, so it's that kind of thing.
Sounds like a brilliant relationship between the two of you.
Yes.
So if I could ask you one more question just on what advice you might offer to earlier version of you, starting out or struggling, etc., what would that be?
Yeah, I definitely had the doff the forelock mentality. And the thing is you could go, do I want to tell myself not to have that? Well, probably not, because that's probably what made me palatable. When I was really trying to kick down the doors, and before the issue of female directors was even on the table, I suspect that that attitude actually made me less threatening, and so they made me palatable, certainly within what I was prepared to be offered. The other thing was I was lucky enough to find writers that I really enjoyed working with and who were inspirational. And so I would say Russell T Davies, Stephen Butchard, Dominic Mitchell, Sarah Phelps. I had great writers, and once you've got that relationship and you really understand that your job is to put their vision onto the screen, which is how I felt about the lesson as well, that was very useful. So I would say, just find those writers and you can do it. Nobody ever told me I could do it. Do you know what I mean?
You did it.
Do that.
You've done it.
Like, you can actually do it. You can do
it.
And that's what I would go back and say to my...
Brilliant.
Has anybody ever said anything really interesting about that answer?
Always.
Like, get out now.
You just did. You just did.
Yeah, everyone says get out now. You need
but
to
that's
leave.
really interesting. What if you say get out now and be an agent, and then you have a lot more money?
Exactly, be a distributor. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody has ever said that, actually.
No one's ever said that.
Don't give up and find good collaborators. I think that's brilliant advice.
I want to ask you some questions. So what advice would you have given your younger selves? Come on, really, I would need to know now.
Yeah, I would say believe in yourself earlier, and you could have done this way earlier. Don't rely on anyone else, and stop believing they can make your film for you. Only you can.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say exactly what Giles said, and then I'd probably also say, be very honest with yourself about who you're collaborating with. Whether the people are on the same page as you, whether they're good people to work with, whether they're actually going to deliver what they say they're going to do, and whether they're going to work as hard as you are, because you can waste a lot of time not.
That's sort of the writer thing, isn't it? Is go back and find those writers that you really, that give you your solid foundation. And
exactly.
So we would all go back and tell ourselves that you can do it as well.
Right.
Exactly.
So therefore, those listening now, you can do it. Yes, Alice.
Don't go back in time. Just do it now.
Yeah. Listen, we've got to let you go. Alice, thank you so much. The lesson is amazing. It's in cinemas.
Pleasure. Really lovely to chat to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Can't wait to chat to you. Camille, again, thank you as well. You're amazing.
Just more of our screenings, and we can meet in person.
Yes, we will. Yeah. We will.
Hopefully see you on the BAFTA circuit this year.
Yes, exactly.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you. Yes.
Lovely to see you.
And you. Bye.
Bye.